very good morning to every one of you watching us on Joy Prime and listening to us here on Joy 99.7 FM. You are very welcome to Home Affairs. My name is Adam Knight, and always a pleasure to be serving you family lessons. And you know our mandate, right? To make homes out of houses. That's what you get when you are constantly with us here on Home Affairs. You can also watch us live on Facebook at Joy997 and at Joy Prime Official. Now, this morning, I am extremely excited. If you followed my broadcast yesterday and also my post on Facebook, I simply said that I am excited about the conversation we are about having this morning and in the next couple of weeks. Because you know why? Um, Marriage, relationships in recent times seems as though it's like it's a gloomy journey, but it really is not. There are people who have made it work. That's not to say they do not have challenges of their own, but the whole idea of loving and being loved in return, building beautiful relationships and marriages, and looking at the impact of loving somebody and they loving you back is what we are about in the next couple of weeks. Honestly, we really do not care how long this goes. For as long as we all are learning a thing or two every day to better our relationships and our marriages, and also ultimately to make homes out of our houses, we will continue to push that agenda so that marriages are not so gloomy as we may think it. There are some very beautiful stories of love that we will be sharing from now until maybe February is over. So take a seat. And if yours isn't looking so beautiful, this is the time to make it work. So, one more time, good morning and welcome to Home Affairs. I'll start by telling you this very short story. I just try to paraphrase it. I'm sure you probably have heard or read it about this couple. So one of them, the gentleman was his wife's hair was so long and entangled and couldn't comb it because her comb was broken, and then he also had a watch he loved so much, but then the strap was also torn, so the watch wasn't really functioning anymore. Now, so he went out and decided that, look, I need to be able to get my wife to, comb her hair. And so he went out, sold his watch, and bought his wife a comb. And here's the woman also saying that, listen, I know my husband loves this watch so much, and so I think I should be able to get him a new watch. She went out there, cut her hair, sold it, and bought her husband a new watch. So by the time husband is coming home with a new comb, wife is also coming home with a new watch. That is what loving and being loved in return is all about. What are you thinking when it comes to your partner? What are your thoughts about this person? What sacrifices are you making to make this relationship work? Are we just putting demands on our partners such that they end up just wanting to flee from the relationship, or we're genuinely placing them ahead of everybody else? That's what we are looking at this morning, and my guests are seated. Let me quickly say that Home Affairs is brought to us by Onga, Mom is Helping Hand, Kel Kids Toothpaste, a product from Samara Company Limited, and it is for children between 2 and 6 years. We have Fortune Rice, always on point, just like mom. Better Mold, because like mommy, like me, made in home decor, bring quality and comfort to your home. And Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. Thank you all very much for banking on Home Affairs. My name is Adam Knight, and like I said, I am always excited to be serving you Home Affairs. I see PG on Zoom. Hello, PG. PG, we can't hear you. Can somebody help me with the faders in the studio? Okay, while we get PG ready, Hello, CKA Howard.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I
How are
am so
you?
excited to have you here.
Thank you for having
How
me.
are you?
Fine.
How's the
Fine.
family?
Everybody's fine.
Asantua and Ifwa.
Asida.
Asid, and
They are
Ifwa.
fine. They are
Your world.
fine. It's
Great.
going well.
And hey, sis. Good to have you. Good morning. Happy New Year. You're always glowing. These days, I see a lot of people write, my MP, my MP. Do we have those aspirations? We'll talk about them later. So that we start campaigning already. But Afi Agbanyo joins us also in the studio. And yeah. See, PG, can you hear me now? Can we hear PG? There's still a challenge. Please let's sort this out quickly. If you're wondering why I have these people in the studio, like I said, this is not to say that you know, there are no challenge. Every home comes with its own challenges, but I have followed their stories, and I think that there is a thing or two to learn from them. And so we're just going to share so that you take notes at home and see how you will be able to put that little flavor into your relationship as well. Now, CK has a very unique story. He'll share part of the story with us. But what I see is how much he won't stop at anything to keep praising his wife for all the sacrifices she keeps making. He is always praying. I'm sure that he prays for her indoors, and then out of the abundance of hearts of this prayer, he wants to put it out there for everybody to know that I have this wonderful woman in my life, and I can't shut up but let the world know that I am enjoying love. And he will be sharing that story with us. Afi is here. Afi is a very strong, like strong woman. Yesterday when I was telling, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, I was telling Daniela about Afi. I said, Afi and I haven't had too many personal conversations, but I follow her in my own way. There was this day she posted a photo. She had braided, plaited her hair, and she said it was her husband who did it. I think there was even a photo of husband, doing the do. And I'm like, okay, this is beautiful. But what I know, what is quite intriguing is the fact that she is a feminist. There are times that she can come very hard at men for some of the things they do, and I wonder, wow, you should have a very supportive husband who allows you to speak your mind, to go out there after men who are not doing the right thing, and he supports you so much. There must be something, because then people think that if you're a feminist and you speak so hard against the wrongs men do in society, then you can't keep a man, because it means that you don't respect men. But this person has a husband that supports her, and every time she feels like speaking against ills in society, especially so when it has to do with men, pedophiles, and men making women's lives miserable, she stops at nothing. She gives it to them, and she still has her home intact. You want to find out, how do you build these peaceful and beautiful homes and still remaining this individual that you are, so that those of us who think that marriage is all gloomy will know that you can make it beautiful. So that's why I summoned the two of you here this morning. And
Thank you.
PG on Zoom. Please, have we sorted out PG now? PG Sebastian, can we hear you? Oh dear, what's happening? This usually doesn't happen with PG's microphone. Okay, let me start with you, CK. How are you?
Fine.
Great.
Fine. Yeah,
Now, I first of all just tell us a little bit about, you seem to be very happy in your home. What's accounting for it? This man, he looks like the best married man. What's accounting for it?
Well, I live home with two women. One little, one old. And I mean, if they keep fighting themselves, I mean, I'm there. I have to witness. I have to be happy.
And they fight, right?
Yeah. I have to be happy. I mean, yeah. but it has its own ups and downs. And I believe, I mean, for somebody like a Fua, anytime, I mean, it's about her. I'm always passionate about it because, look, it takes a lot of will and, I mean, like a strong decision to do what Ifa has done for me. So well, I'll say it every day. I don't know when I'll stop, but I'll keep saying it.
Tell us what she has done for you. Not everybody knows the story.
Well, so as you know, my sister died at birth, and then Ifa had to stop whatever she's doing in her life.
Were you married at the time?
No, she was my girlfriend. I mean, yeah, we weren't married. So, I mean, she stopped whatever she was doing, and she came to the Reed Hospital to come and help me take care of my sister. We moved in home together, and she hadn't done that before. I mean, it was a new thing for her.
And for you as well.
Of course, because I mean, I didn't even know what I was about. Like, I didn't know whether I would fail or I would
succeed at it.
But having a four in it's made all the difference. Honestly, it really made all the, because at the end of the day, I had to resume work, so I had to go back. I spent like 12 hours outside. I come, I meet them. The next 8 hours they are on the move. Look, everything about Asida that has happened today is because Ifwa is in my life, and I really appreciate Ifwa for all the sacrifice. You know, this is somebody who goes out of her way to do things for you. She knows this has to be done for you. She knows what you like, what you do not like, and in fact, she always does what you like. And I mean,
she comes across like just a perfect human being.
Yeah.
Okay, let me give you a little bit of a backstory. So CK here, like he said, had a sister who passed on when she was having her baby, and he had to take care of that baby for her sister. So here's Ifua, who was just his girlfriend at the time, comes to the hospital, sees the situation, and goes like, listen, whatever it is that it takes, we are in this together. And if you heard him, he said she stopped, the girlfriend, she stopped everything that she was doing just to be there to support him, take care of this baby as though the baby was her own. And it's instructive to also know that she has never had a child, and you have had to step into the shoes of, a mother and raise a child. How old is Asida now?
She was still in December.
She's 2 years, and you should follow CK. Look at the photos he shares of the family and the happiness in it. But I want to ask you. Maybe we should be asking Ifwa, but she's not here. What do you think drove her to that? Because you could have decided that you didn't want the relationship anymore. Even in marriage, people get divorced, right? What drove her? What made her make that sacrifice?
Well, like I always say, Ifwa as a person, she's dedicated. Like, I don't know how to say it. Like,
oh dear,
she gives her all. So when she's with you and you are going through hard times, she actually knows what to do for you. Yeah, I think the day my sister died, I was at Ridge. She went to my hometown at 12 a.m. in the middle of the night at the back of a motorcycle. Yeah, because she wants to see me. I wasn't there. My phone was off. I wasn't answering any call. In fact, the phone was off. But she went home, met my mom. The next day, they were looking for me all around. But if I is a dedicated human being, she will just do everything.
Oh dear.
She's an angel. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Which girlfriend or wife doesn't want to be spoken about like this? Oh my God. He's not even finding the words to describe this woman. Wow. And she made all these sacrifices.
Yeah, she did.
Tell me, how do you show her appreciation?
Well, I mean, I don't do it.
Or how have you also loved her in return?
I think one of the most important things
Mm-hmm.
I made sure Ifwa was able to get back on her feet, and then she went back to school.
Okay.
She's writing her exams next month,
Okay.
and she'll become a certified registered central service technician.
Wow.
And that is what makes me proud. She stopped what she was doing. She came to help me, but I had to make
So
sure
she put that on hold.
on hold.
For how long?
It was for like 15 months.
Wow.
But I had to make sure she'll combine that with Aseda school. I'll take off days at work. She'll go to school, and I make sure they are fine at home. I mean, it won't always be sweet and pies, but uh, between
Hello.
me and the four, between me and the four, I think I am the most.
PG, we
difficult
can hear
person.
you now. That's great. I'll come to you shortly.
Oh, great. We're just working on the microphone. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Between me and the four, I think I am the most difficult person,
Oh.
and yes, I mean, I like trouble. I cause trouble. It brings me joy, but
When
I
you
mean,
cause trouble.
yeah, but
Oh,
if I would
dear.
even meet you with trouble, I said, call me. I didn't know. Yes, sir. You should
And
die.
that's it. And that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Hardly would you see if we're angry at you. No. And there are some things you do at home she's always proud of. And I always know them, so I help her with
You
yeah,
help them
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
of course.
That's beautiful. So, like I said, the essence of this conversation is just so we know that marriage is not so gloomy. That these days people want to do little things. I mean, we're hiding so much, right? We're not even telling our partners our salaries. You don't want to tell your partner exactly where you are. We are hiding so much and we make the union so difficult. We're always at each other's throats. But there are some beautiful stories and we will be focusing on those stories. Just so you know, it is not so gloomy. Hi, Afi.
Hello.
So tell me, how do we build these things like beautiful homes like the one you have? How do we go about them?
Well, I think it's we okay. Let me first and foremost use this platform to say I'm sure we all heard what's happening in Bogoso and just commiserate with the people in Bogoso who certainly are not having any love at this moment in time. And continue to say that building a home, people usually will say things like love is difficult, relationship is difficult. And then there are those of us who think it is not difficult.
But it is work.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's a blend of appreciating that we are individuals, we're coming to a commitment to each other, and that commitment includes learning about ourselves and learning about the other person, which will mean that you understand your individuality and then you understand where you converge so that you do not also cross into making new people out of the people you're marrying. So you don't end up cloning them and making them different people because they decided to commit to marriage. Because if we lose our autonomy, really we are dead walking. And that's what I feel. I feel that if, especially as adults, we lose the right to make some decisions for ourselves. We lose the right to make contributions. We lose even the spontaneity that we had as children that's carried us. And this is because when we're married, sometimes it's as though you have to ask permission to even live.
Oh dear.
And if those things go away, then, the individual does not find joy to even share in the marriage. And when we say that, we sometimes feel like you have to ask permission. Sometimes people think it means saying that, please, can I go? Please. No, that's not what it means. When you are in a relationship where you do not seem to be accepted, every word you make, when you make a contribution, a suggestion, sometimes decisions for yourself is watered down. is spoken down at, you know that with time it looks like that's what it is. You've got to ask permission from the other person because the other person feels superior. Their decisions, they feel that everything that you're making, every decision you're making is not right. That's why they water it down. So with time, you get to that position where you seem to want to know what they think about everything before you do it. And when you're getting to that position, yes, you get to lose yourself. Sometimes it even comes to your health. It's like they have to help you understand your body and things like that. When you get there, then yes, you lose yourself. So if you lose yourself in a relationship, there's no joy. You don't have it to share, and you can't even absorb joy because you've become placid. Like, so you're not spongy enough to even absorb joy. These are some of the things that makes us lose the joy in relationship and the beauty in it.
Before you
Because
go,
you don't lose
let
the
me just
challenge
ask you,
anymore.
what you're saying is very, very important. But someone will, on the back of that, ask you, okay, so we know that the two of you will have to become one. It's a covenant. Your minds and your thoughts are supposed to be aligned. Otherwise, we're still living very individual lives in as much as we're saying that we are married. Sorry. So, how did you go about maintaining the strong personality and individual that you are and still being a wife to your husband, he being a husband to you, and you people still finding joy in as much as you're not losing your individualities? Because I feel like it has to be a negotiation, letting the person understand who you are, and sometimes it always doesn't end well.
I get where you're coming from. I think it's when we are growing up, what we see around us informs some decisions that we make. So sometimes it makes you feel that this is life, or you feel that life could be better, and so you take better decisions, or you settle in what it is because you think that this is what life is. For me, I was graced with knowledge before, and not fully, if I should put it that way, because I had to do a lot of unlearning through the almost 10 years that we've been together. I had to do a lot of even appreciating when to give information, I must be frank, because I'd lived my life so much. I took a lot of decisions for myself, for example. So it didn't come to me as I had to draw the line between asking permission and giving information. I had to come to that terms to understand that telling my husband that I am going to this place and that place is not necessarily asking
Seeking
his
his approval.
permission to go there, but letting him appreciate where I am. So when he needs something, things like that, I had to unlearn that. And I think that's where the work is. When people say it is difficult, it doesn't mean that you are sad throughout your married life and things like that. And it doesn't also mean that when you have to do the work, it means that it is not a good marriage. You have to appreciate that you have to unlearn. I said something about where you converge, because we have to also allow people to be their individual self. And in my case, I didn't want to lose my spontaneity, even though with time, responsibilities and everything made me, have to plan most of the things that I do. I didn't want to lose my spontaneity. So with time, I remind myself that the things that I found joy in meant that I had to do some things that are on the spot for me, playful for me, and growth. And you see, one of the things we appreciate, we have to understand is that sometimes the things that happens to us is not because we're married. Even if you were single and you were growing, some of these things will happen. So for example, if a woman is growing and she's married and she is not spontaneous, it might not necessarily be because of a husband's presence. It may be because responsibilities are making her, more structured. And so she herself might have to agree that I want to stay in this structured life, or I want to add some level of excitement, spontaneous to it. And so it may not necessarily be because there's a man. And so you have to understand when these things are happening to you so you don't blame. Because sometimes things are happening to you. You own that responsibility of working on them, by yourself. But because there's another person, it's easier to say that since I married you, since we got married, this is what is happening to me. And so you seem powerless to take charge of that part of your life. When I realized that there were part of my life that's not my husband's responsibility. And so I get up to do those parts. And you will notice that once you have your full self as much as possible, I should say your whole self as much as possible, you even have joy to share, like I mentioned. And so for me, that's what it is. And then there are times when there are hard conversations. Hard conversations to say that this aspect of you doesn't work with me, so hold it. So for example, my husband is a very diligent person. He's always in a hurry to get to where he is going.
Okay.
He wants to, even when he's going home, sometimes we are going home. But when he's in transition, he's driving to where he's going. He wants to get there. So he hardly takes a relaxed drive. You get my point. Even when he has time. So he's going to Joy FM. He's moved from the house 3 hours even before time. He could get there in 2 hours and still have time, but he can't slow into that process. No. So I have that, relaxed time at some point in time. And so when we are in transit, where we're driving through, it's like I have to rub him that, Papa, please, we have time. Don't run. Or I make faces to let him know that, say, take it easy. So these kind of things are like small, but they are hard work because initially I didn't take it lightly. And so when people are saying marriage relationship is hard, these are some of the little things. You'll be surprised how somebody would say is little. It's like a woman, if you have a lady or a man who cannot accept a dust on the table, but you're living together with someone who is okay leaving the mug after a tea and then walking away. So it looks like you're cleaning after him or her every time because he thinks I can go and come back for it. But you think, no,
it has to
once
be
you're
done
done,
now.
you polish it off. And so these things make you uncomfortable. And they are small, but once they make you uncomfortable, they make the presence of the person very difficult for you. So you have conversations about it. And you will be surprised that these are some of the hard conversations I had to, have. Because for me, I thought these things, we should know them. But over time, I noticed we have to have conversations about them. And one thing I also want to say is maintaining relationships. And that is also not easy for a lot of people. And I must say a lot of men. A lot of men, I think, for the fact that there's a perception that you have to be the leader, the perception that you have to be the strong one, makes it difficult for men to appreciate counseling and therapy and getting help when there are emotional issues because it makes them vulnerable. And so hardly would the leader, as in the man, possibly say that I think we should commit to maintaining our relationship. And so maybe in every whatever month, years or whatever, let's go for counseling or let's go for, let's speak to somebody who has had this relationship thing before. When children come, see, you haven't had children before. The fact that you saw your parents do it, even if you're a firstborn, does not mean you experience. It's okay to learn about them, read, ask questions and things like that. Because those are also conflict points. When there are children, how do we train them? There's one who says that the rod and the staff will comfort the child. Then there's another who says that, no, let's, we have a no rod policy. And so these are conflict areas. And if you don't agree on what to do, you are sitting in your room, and you hear a rod on your son or daughter because the other who believes in the rod is, taking care of the rod process. And so you are angry because for you, this is happening in all these are conflict, areas. And so if you have two conversations, That's what I think. Maybe that's what I have experienced.
And that's how you have worked out yours.
Yeah.
Would you say confidently that they have worked?
No, I cannot confidently say every
One of them.
I can say that we're in a process. There are a lot of things that we understand now, and so we do without. For example, my phone. I can give personal examples. I am almost like, where's my phone? Where is my phone? I think it was irritating initially. I remember there was a joke that was this part of what I signed for.
Helping you look for your phone.
Your phone is this part of the thing. Then let's go back and do that and get the agreements right. Because every time I'm asking my husband, have you seen my phone? Have you seen my phone? With time, he doesn't even, have you seen my phone? Oh, okay, then we go look for it. Like, it's like that's the process. We move into looking for the phone. He's not complaining. We just go. He's not asking, why don't you just find a place and put it? No. Where's my phone? He takes his phone. He calls it. We find it. If it's on silent, and that's one of the annoying part, it can also be on silent.
Yeah.
And then we move and we look for it. So these things, for example, are working. We understanding each other. And then there are also other things. Because we have children, we've been blessed with children. So the process of growing the children is in its day also raising new conflicts that we have to work on. The thing about strong woman relationship, I think I should address it. I don't think it is supposed to be
what? An issue?
an issue.
Okay.
Sometimes I think I wonder why we feel it's an issue.
But you know it is an issue in a lot of places.
I think so. And I think it comes to the concept of submission. And that's one of the things that I raise. I think in a relationship where love dwells, submission is almost like fluid. And so we do
Great.
not go insisting it. And so when you are at a space where you are insisting submission, for example, you've got to watch it, because it's fluid in the sense that when my knowledge, my experience is superior, my husband submits to it. When his is superior, when his
Beautiful.
knowledge is superior, I submit to it. And so we do not have to be, I don't even know how that should be with adults, because we don't even do it as friends, adults, or even children.
So why as a couple?
Should we insist on people becoming subdued to us in ways where they kind of don't do anything for themselves unless we approve it? I think it's important that we agree that we're adults, we're married. What the Bible talked about when it was talking about submission, if you're Christian and you signed up to the Bible, you also know that the ensuing rules allow you to submit to each other. And then there's also the perception that women want love, men want respect. It's rubbed me a little, it's unsettling for me a bit. And that is because I think respect is a basic value of love. And everybody should everybody should get it.
Everybody.
If you don't respect people, basically it's you not loving them. And so it will be unfair if you say that women want love
And men.
want respect. Like, how is that even detached?
Actually, even
in
they
my
use
mind?
need, right? Women
Need,
need love and men need respect.
You've got to respect each other.
Yeah.
You've got to respect each other. In that, it is more like a subset in my mind of love. So you love each other, you respect each other, you're kind to each other, you value each other's contribution, you're grateful that you have each other. Because if you continue to do it like this, we feel that we detach love from respect. And so we feel the soft things of giving, of making sure that you're catered for. And that's actually one of the most interesting words that we also, get to use. It's like, so I'm catering for my wife. How are you catering for her? But I'm catering for my wife. And because of that, I love her. Sometimes it even turns into being very mechanical. It becomes financial, like giving. And for some people, and for women who are now working and not needing financial contribution from their husbands, then they are not being loved.
Exactly. And you're not being loved and you're not being submissive.
Listen, because then you are taking decisions with the money you have, and you're not getting money from the husband. And this, I think, when you scrape off, you come to the real issue of love. So if you're not giving me money, and I'm able to take care of things and take decisions about my finances, are we saying that we don't love each other? And so that, if we scrape this off, then we come to the real issues of how are you emotionally supporting somebody? There are people who can sit in the house with their spouse, and their spouse can cry days, be depressed. They wouldn't know. And this is not because they consciously don't care to know, but they've not learned to know that emotionally supporting you, asking, how are you?
Genuinely.
Yes, and wanting to sit to listen to how are you?
And support you through it.
Yes.
And not feeling like they're babysitting you.
These things don't exist because we become mechanical. I'm cooking, you're eating, we're cleaning, we're going to a wedding, you're dressed up, you're beautiful doesn't even come. So we are dressed up, we are done, we are going, you've gone to the wedding, we are back. Children,
life goes on.
So it becomes mechanical. And I understand from the point of a lot of people, a lot of us in marriage, in the sense that we didn't know better. And if we want to do this, then we've got to learn it.
Great.
That's the bit.
Beautiful. Wow. So, from Afi's point of view, doesn't mean that you won't have issues to deal with. She talked about learning and unlearning. For as long as you're making up your mind that you're going to live with somebody and you're going to spend the rest of your lives together, there are things that you have learned behaviors, and there are times that just for the sake of that unity, you will have to try and unlearn some. Sorry, and that's not to say that you should lose your individuality, but you want a certain level of cordiality in your relationship and your marriage. So you've got to come to that point where you're working it together. And she talked about the fact that doing those things doesn't mean that you're going on your knees to go and ask permission and waiting to be permitted, come back at this time and all. She went on to say, if you have respect for each other, some of these things just become very fluid, because I love you, I respect you, I trust you. And so it really isn't a problem. She also talked about, and that has been the basis of it, conversations. Talk about them. Instead of sitting down, second guessing your partner. And we do that a lot. Hey, let me just come and ask you, how do we go about this? What's this happening? And, this thing she said, the example she gave about the driving, right? Some other person will interpret it this way and talk about it this way. Why are you driving like that? Don't you know we have children, we have a family, but you want to go and kill us? You go about it that way, and there's trouble. But here's how she goes about it. You turn and give the person a certain look. They try to understand it. You rub them gently. And this is building that beautiful and that loving relationship, even when you are uncomfortable with certain things your partner is doing. How do you go about communicating it such that it doesn't become confrontational, right? And we have to learn all of these things. Then she also talked about, and that I think that there are people who will be going like, okay, what's she saying? She said, if her thoughts are superior sometimes, they go with it. And this is to say that we have had conversations. There's something we need to do. We've talked about it. Your views are on the table. Mine are on the table. We've discussed the pros and cons. It doesn't matter if it's coming from the woman. If what she's putting on the table happens to be superior, why do we not go with it? And you insist that probably because you are the man, once I say we should go with your idea, I am giving you powers, and all of a sudden you'll come and sit on top of my head, and then you start disrespecting me, and then the home is disrupted. So we need to pay attention to these things. And I feel like if you love the person and you care about the person and you want to have a beautiful home, these things shouldn't be too much It shouldn't be too much, should it? Shouldn't be too much. Should just be beautiful like that. Hi, PG. You've been nodding, sir. Your head is going to fall off.
Adam, can you
How?
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please, I want
Okay.
some volume on PG's fader. We can hear you. How are you?
I am good. I am good. I was just enjoying Afi's submission. I mean,
I had to let her.
me and Afi have been having some on the side conversations. And, I just know her thought patterns, and it's quite interesting.
Yes, but it's
If
beautiful. It's beautiful
yes,
that we
yes,
understand these things and not think that
exactly.
marriage is also gloomy and it is war and all that. So
No,
we're
no.
going to be running a series talking about building beautiful homes and relationships and some of the things we need to do, the values we need to place on our partners, and know that at the end of the day, right, this is what I have come to learn, and I always say, you can be replaced everywhere, but even if you pass on, the level of mourning your partner, your spouse will give you is still dependent on the relationship you had with the person. There are some people who can't just wait to, oh, good riddance to bad rubbish. You are there to go and let me have my freedom, you know. So it's important that we build these relationships very solidly. And I know that you have been in that business for God knows how long. Where were you though? We saw you posting photos and teasing us and all of those. Where did you go?
Oh, Adam, I didn't go anywhere. I was settling in.
You were
School had
hibernating.
opened. School had reopened. The kids had come back to town. I had to adjust again, and I had to, beginning of the year at work and all that. So I decided to take some time off, and then, start the year well, put a few things together before I bounce back. So yeah, that was why I was
Great.
missing in action for a while.
Great. I am yet to do mine. Okay, so with you, right, PG,
Right.
and I mean,
Yes.
you have we have done this on Home Affairs a million times, and the conversations are usually dealing with the challenges, problems,
Right.
and getting people to understand. But we also know that there are things people can do to be able to have some beautiful relationships, have peace in their homes. That's not to say
Right.
that you won't have, little problems or challenges here and there. But ultimately, the goal is to have beautiful homes. Marriage is supposed to be beautiful, So we want to also hear from you some of the things that practically we can do to make our homes beautiful. And if you have heard stories about some people, because you coach a lot of people who are having very beautiful homes, what are some of the things they do so that we can go on that tangent?
Well, thank you very much, Adam, and good morning to our cherished listeners. For me, one of the practical things I personally did at the initial stages of my marriage, because yes, we all start marriage, regardless of how we love our partners and the kind of commitment, the level of commitment we have for them. We all start the marriage sometimes on rough patches, because we come into the marriage with a certain mindset, with a certain level of expectation, with a certain stereotypes, of how things ought to be done and then all that. And for a typical African guy, you always come into the marriage thinking, just as you've probably read, seen, or heard, thinking that you are superior, and you have to be the guy with the last word, and then all of that. And like Afi said, sometimes when you come down to it, you realize that it is not a question of who has the last word, but it's more of whose idea, whose words, whose position or perspective on things tend to be superior after you subjected it to some form of rigorous test. You sit down, you discuss, and you realize, okay, well, she has a point. I mean, initially, I didn't also understand that, and it was back and forth. But eventually, I had to quickly learn that, listen, you are a counselor. You speak to people about X, Y, Z. Apply the same level of discipline in your life. And for me, that was how I understood, or that was when I understood that scripture that says that charity begins at home. If you are telling people that, oh, as a man, you need to do this, then you need to do it yourself. Because
Exactly.
it is possible one day somebody might corner my wife and ask, so your husband, all the things that he's preaching online, has he been doing it?
Mm.
And even if I don't do everything 100%, I still want a pass mark. I still want an A. Not just, no, I mean, not just a pass mark. I still want an A, so that I know that I have tried. And given the circumstances, I've done my best. And for me, one of the first things that I did was to understand the basic psychological principle. We we are born with two sides of us, or we grow up with two sides of us. It is the nature and then the nurture. Okay, so nature is what we're born with, our emotions, everything that has to do with the way our thought, the way our mind process information, the way we are programmed or wired to see the world and all that. Then there is a bit about nature. That's how we are socialized. And I realized that fundamentally, because she is a woman and I'm a man, the way we see things will always be different. That's one. Two, because we were born through different, and we came from different genetic backgrounds. Her processes, the way she sees things, will be different from mine. Then we come to the socialization aspects. She was raised differently. I was raised differently. We've had different experiences from the schools we've attended to the churches we've been to the communities we've lived in to the kind of homes we've grown up to the kind of friends we've had. They've all shaped our perspectives. So if you pick somebody who grew up in a richer part of the city and you pick somebody who grew up in a poorer part of the city, the way they see money won't be the same. The way they see conflict won't be the same. The way they see romance won't be the same. The way they see education won't be the same. People are shaped to see the world the way, by their experiences. So I had to quickly come to that place and realize that we are different. And so be accommodating, be open-minded, learn to compromise. And compromising means that, and that is in a way what Afi said, you need to move away from your entrenched positions, unlearn some postures or some thought patterns or some perspectives or some reasoning, and begin to learn new things. We come from different backgrounds to start another culture, another tribe, out of which you're also going to grow our things. You can't always say that this is what is done in my father's house, this is what is done in my mother's house. Well, then you might as well have stayed there. But once the two of you have moved to come together to start something different, your conversation should reflect your reality, your unique reality. You can't bring in the way your mother hung their curtains in their house and say that, well, that's how my mother hung their curtains, so let us hang our curtains here. No, you can't. So you must learn. The two of you need to sit down and say that, okay, well, this is where you're coming from, this is where I'm coming from. What is the common ground? And yes, sometimes you may have to go with one person. Sometimes you have to just agree to disagree. Sometimes you just have to just relinquish your claim and let your partner win in some instances. And one thing that I also learned is that changes are not revolutionary. To change your partner, again, not to clone them or not to make them a reflection of yourself, but the two of you coming to a place of compromise on learning some things, they are not revolutionary, they are evolutionary. It takes time. Don't forget that I'm married in my 30s. My wife was in her 20s. And when we married, that's 30 years of me socializing and conditioning myself to reason in a particular way, thinking about it. That's over 30 years, almost like my mid 30s. So it would take time for me to unlearn these things, because these are things that I have learned and done, and they become like my default nature. Give me time. And it's the same thing for her as well. Give me time. There was a time we had a very honest conversation, and then she told me something, and really it got to me. She was like, sometimes I don't know what to say, because you seem to have figured my thought out, that sometimes I'm not careful if what I'm going to say would have been preempted and there's an answer that coming. And I felt, I was like, okay, bro, you need to chill. And these are things that I share when I'm having counseling with people, that you see, sometimes we think we are right, we think we know it all, sometimes we think we are always accurate, but you may want to take a step back, hear your partner out, listen to where they're also coming from, be open-minded. Don't fear to look stupid, don't fear to feel dumb, because they shared an idea or a position that sort of undermines everything that you know, or sort of, challenges to the core everything that you know. No, be willing to accept some of these things. After all, they are your better half. I mean, before whom can you goof better than your partner? So it was a hard process of unlearning things, hard process of letting things go. There used to be a time I used to comment on everything. Eventually, I asked myself, I mean, whenever there is the need to comment or whenever there is the urge to comment, I ask myself, if I don't comment, will someone die? If nobody would die, just let it go. I mean, one thing though I have tried never to get into is what she does with her personal space. I mean, your hair. I mean, one day she just said she wants to do natural hair. I said, go for it. She sometimes says, "Oh, I think I'm putting on weight. I need to reduce myself." I'm like, I'm not complaining. That's your body. Whatever you want to do, if you're comfortable with it, do it. She dresses. I'm like, "Oh, don't you think that dress would have been nice?" Everything's like, "Oh, this one has been there. I've not worn it in a long time. Are you happy with it? Does it make you look good? All right, that's fine." I try to give her a measure of space in a way that will also make her individuality stand out. Like as you rightly said, I mean, when we married, a lot of people were sadly trying to put pressure on her. Hey, so you want to quit your job and come and stay in Accra with your husband? Yeah, want you quit your job and come and stay in Accra? I'm like, madam, when they ask them, when they ask you that question, ask them. And the jobs, they are hanging on trees in Accra that you just come block some and start doing. If jobs are not hanging on trees in Accra and it is not easy to find a job, when you quit, are they going to pay you your salary or they're going to give you some monthly remittance? If not, please, I'm not complaining. Both of us need to come together. The Bible says that, and two shall receive a better reward for their labor. I am not coming to marry and still not get a better reward for my labor by being a single person providing income. The Bible again says that, and two shall chase 10,000. You working, you bringing in your resources, you keeping your mind active, being significant in the life of people, and accounting for something or counting for something is us coming together to join our powers to chase 10,000. So please, your father or your parents took you to school to acquire knowledge and they had a future envisioned in mind for you. For which reason they did all that investment? It is not in this marriage that all of a sudden I'm coming to undo years of school fees paying, years of grooming, years of whatever to reduce you to a housewife. I beg you,
can you imagine?
I said, I beg you, you work. I remember when the kids were moving in September, she was like, babe, now we've gotten to the end of this journey. I need to quit the job and come and take. I'm like, I jokingly said, madam, if you quit the job, I'll divorce you. Because I didn't marry an unemployed woman. Unless you lose your job, you and at no point in time are we going to have a woman unemployed in this house. You will work. That is why you went to school. Because after 5 years, after 2 years, the problems will start coming. When she suddenly realizes that she's not as financially fluid as she used to be, when she starts suddenly realize that she's home, she's bored, when she starts suddenly realizing that she's let so many things go in the name of marriage, and then the problems start coming, and then she's not happy, then the same person that she did all these sacrifices for, I will some way, somehow, well, I don't know the future. Nobody even knows what is going to happen in the next 2 minutes. But it is possible I may probably even start resenting her when I feel that she was just in the house doing nothing and making demands. Or she'll probably resent me for probably struggling to get a job and not getting a job. So I was like, listen, madam, you will work. So stay in that job until you get a job in Accra. I'm not rushing. I'm not pushing you. I'm coping. From September till now, I've lived with 2 kids, 8 and 4 years. There is no nanny in this house. I wake up as early as I can, prepare them for school, take them to school, come home, come and start work and work full time. When I close, I go to pick them up. If I have counseling sessions at 6 p.m., I make sure that their homework is done, they've eaten, they've bathed, and they're in their room so that the time they could have spent watching TV, they are on their devices so that I can do my counseling. Every 1 hour, I quickly dash to go and see if they are fine. If they are not fine, I try and find out. If I have to ask my client for permission for, say, a minute or two, I will sort them out and come back. I will do this because if you were a woman living on your own alone, you would have done that. And I don't think that women are any different from us men. So I'm sacrificing. And when I tell people that I live alone, they're like, do you have a nanny? I'm like, no. They're like, PG, how are you coping? I'm like, my house is still as clean as it used to be when I was single. I mean, like when I was living alone. What it means is that I'm putting extra work. I mean, 4-year-old child, hey, don't come to the hall. Daddy, we want to watch TV in the hall. And then give them 2 minutes. You come and your hall is turned upside down. I mean, these are my kids. I can beat them. So what do? I tell them, go upstairs, go to your room, or go and watch the TV upstairs. I clean my hall again. It's constant work. And then it gets tiring. But that
Wow.
is the little love I can show.
I
That
can
is the
recall.
expression of that love that I say I have for my wife. For me, I may not be able to buy you a Range Rover, but yeah, when I get the money, I'll buy the Range Rover. But and I'll probably not be able to take you to the moon and back. But these are the little things.
That you
These are the
can
little
do.
things.
I
Just
agree with
for her to be able to work and be there, know that I have a supportive husband who's probably also taking care of business. My wife
Wow.
doesn't go and come back to come and clean this house. Anytime she comes, the house is as cleaned as professionally done. My wife doesn't have to come and do things that were put on hold for her. So sometimes she would tell me. I remember one time I was rushing for a counseling session one Sunday evening at 7 p.m. and the kids said they wanted fries, so I was frying it for them. And in the process of rushing, I burnt myself. Hot oil poured on me. This woman was so distraught. She was so sad. She was so upset. She was everything. And then she said that, please, I don't want you cooking again. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to call out. I mean, we have a chef on demand as and when we need him, he comes around. So that every 2 weeks, I'm going to call the chef to come and cook food for the kids and for all of you, so that you don't get to go through all of that again. Because I can't live with myself. If you hurt yourself because you are juggling between too many things. And so then she's also returning this love in another way. She may not be here to get the home sorted out, but at least from wherever she is,
Wow.
even as far away as she is, she's making sure
Ah.
that things are also running for me. She's constantly putting pressure on me. Baby, can't you just get someone to come and clean this house? I say, I'm not an exercise person. I don't get up to go for a run. So moving upstairs, downstairs, cleaning left, right, center, that's the only exercise I get to do. So please allow me. In any case, you bring some of these people, they are clean, I'm clean after them, because me, I like my space very clean. So, let me do this myself. But we are constantly ensuring that we are making, our lives comfortable. We are making our lives easy for each other. We are not a
Wow.
perfect couple. We are not. I like to have beautiful interiors, little decors here and there. She likes very plain background. I remember there was a time I literally cried. I literally cried. I went out. I went to Okadeco. I bought some few decors. I came to mount it up, and then we're speaking on video, and she saw that there was something behind me in the kitchen. She was like, "What is that?" And I said, "This and this and this." She was like, "Ah, this is my kitchen. You're not supposed to be hanging things in my kitchen." I was hurt. I was broken because I
Oh.
thought that it was a beautiful work of art, and
It pay
it hurt
you.
me. I mean, I can be very sentimental and very emotional. Then her friends came to visit when she came to town. I'm like, oh, your thing is very nice. So, hey, you people, Charlie, hey, this is very nice. George, where did you buy it? And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you, Lord Jesus. I just climbed upstairs and I left the girls down in the kitchen. Let them fight over it in the kitchen. I'm sure she would tell them her story and they would tell her, come on, how can you do that? That's a beautiful artwork. So at them, it's a lot of understanding, a lot of compromises.
Wow.
For me, it is the compromise. Because at them, that is the basis. You can do everything, but if you're unwilling to give a little bit of your territory, if you're unwilling to let your partner win some, if you are unwilling to unlearn some things so you can learn new things, and if you're unwilling to move away, there will be no equilibrium. And a
Great.
relationship where there's no equilibrium, there will be excess demand or excess supply. Some way, somehow, somebody's not going to be happy about it.
Thank you, PG. Wow. This wasn't just, you putting nuggets out there, but this is you putting your life out there as well for us to see how this thing really works. So I am just so excited. The stories we're telling here today, we're not telling any gloomy stories. In fact, for the next couple of weeks, you won't hear any of those because there are beautiful relationships, beautiful marriages. And like we all have said here, you don't pluck them from trees. You've listened to PG. Afi has shared her experiences, how you will have to work at these things. We all agree it is work. It is work, sacrifices, compromises, learning and unlearning. If you listen to CK's story, it's a lot of sacrifice. Deciding that this is the person, what's happening? This is the person I love, and I am willing to put A, B, C. Look, your partner must be a witch or a wizard to say that you're doing all of these things and they will not show appreciation or do anything in return. See PG's case, oil poured on him, and wifey says, you know what, I'm getting a chef to come and help. Ade. I feel that's what she has to do, and I'm waiting for the day that Elliot, I'm throwing a challenge to you to like plait my hair. He does it though. He does a lot of crazy things. A lot of crazy things, and it's just so beautiful. We'll come to take their final thoughts, and then we will wrap up on the show this morning. But Young Vita wishes to thank you for patronizing our products, especially the new member, the 350 block button pack. Thank you for the support during the past years, and we value opportunities to serve you, and we look forward to doing so in the future. And they're telling us that may our year, this new year, bring lots of cheer as we grow deliciously. Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. And do you know about the new delicious? Oh yes, Ungalicious is the new delicious. Create those amazing moments with your Onga, your favorite Onga seasoning, no matter your cooking experience. Onga is a delight to make great tasting meals in every home. Onga is convenient to use, and it brings out that great taste and aroma in your meals. So let's toast to the new Onga beef tablet and Onga stew tablet with superior taste and comforting aroma for all your meals. Mama's helping hand, Onga, proudly Ghanaian. You can connect with them at Onga Ghana on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter. Now, after the show, right? I mean, on my Joy Online, and then also on my Facebook page, and very soon, don't worry, I'll start becoming very active on Instagram. People are bashing me like, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" Don't worry, I'm getting back to that. But I will share my point of view, my thoughts, my truth about this subject, because I am so very passionate about it. I think getting to the end of last year, the emails, most of the emails we received is what has actually informed this trend of conversation, because people just think that marriage is gloom and there's nothing good in there, So I will tell you what I also think and my own experiences when it comes to this journey so far. But for now, do not bastardize an institution that you're not willing to commit to. That's what I'll tell you. And live in it according to its standards. There's so much work you have to do to be here to make it happy. You can't just get up and say that, oh, this is it. I am married. Everybody's getting married. It's a queue. You join the queue and you're going. You will have its issues. Love, if you ask me, is the most beautiful thing on earth. And just loving someone and being rest assured that they love you in return, just as you love them, and sacrificing for them just be one of the most beautiful things you can experience in this world. And I remember before we got married, I told my husband that I was better off living in a loving and a fulfilled relationship, a relationship that was filled with affection, than living in a relationship with all the material things that sometimes you end up living in a big home, driving a big car, and you're so miserable because that is replacing the human being you got married to. And this was, long before I got married, and I still stand by those, So you can make it work. Value yourselves. When PG was talking, I put this point down. It almost sounds like put your partner at the center of everything you're doing. This is a human being you value. So put them there. Build things around each other. If Afi is building around her husband, CK is building around his wife, and wife is building around him, you will just realize that it will be an almost perfect relationship. And we can do this. It's important. And I also picked up from all the conversations we're having here that loving somebody and loving them wholeheartedly is not being vulnerable. It's not being vulnerable. I heard this on Strong and Sassy, and I thought it was beautiful. Someone said, I asked my boyfriend, or was it my husband, teach me how to love you so that I can love you the way you ought to be loved. And I thought, oh, wow, this is so beautiful, CK, just I want to find out from you, finally, for young people who are looking for partners, what should they be looking out for? What should you be looking out for?
Well, I'll say mine is the grace of God. Look, I keep saying, I agreed with him earlier when he was saying, you have to work.
Yes.
even in the midst of Aseda growing up, I ensured everyone was going back to school,
Okay.
juggling chores. And if you ask me to advise young people, look, I'll say the grace of God, because where I
You
sit
should
now,
pray and seek for God's grace.
yeah, because look at this woman I am married to. She will do everything, and she's an angel. I'll keep
That's
saying,
all you can say.
I don't have the word.
We're happy for you. And finally from you, Afi.
Well,
Just
I
about some 30 or 1 minute.
Okay, I think one thing I would share is what I wish I had done over the past years that I've been married. I think that I would have used my anniversary times or days or period, the days around my anniversary, to have conversations with people who have been married longer than I have. And I hope to do that in the coming years. That you may not be committed to going to counseling, as in going to see a professional counselor because of whatever fears you have, but you can move to say, I want to speak to Mr. and Mrs. this and have conversation with them over the years. But it shouldn't be stringent, but just so you pick lessons. That's
Great.
one thing I would have done in the past years. And I think that you should also commit to your individual growth. And this is quickly where I would want to give a little caveat on, you must work, you don't have to work and things like that. There are times when, depending on what is happening, somebody may want to say, I want to take care of the children for a couple of years or whatever. It's fine, but we should appreciate the consequences, like PJ said. Appreciate the consequences and know that if you are not very skilled, bouncing back might be difficult or even impossible. What's the backup plan if you're doing this? All that. So appreciate, because the resentment part he mentioned, it
can be something else.
Yeah.
Great.
So please,
I agree.
please have that also at the back of your mind and enjoy the process.
Enjoy it.
If you're a woman, keep to your girlfriends. I think that one of the myths or the places that's also unsettling for me is when they say, when you marry, don't have friends because your husband is your only friend.
Oh, how?
I think that what's worked for me is times when I don't want to be with my husband. I have friends I want to have conversations about nothing. And just because he's caused me to be angry or something, I just want a space to come back to him, and then we can have the conversation. Because sometimes the conversations, we don't end. We don't get to a point. And so you need a space.
Beautiful.
And so I think you should keep your girlfriends if you have them.
Oh, God.
Make some if you don't have. If you're a female,
this is beautiful. And for me, it's making me, you want to fall in love all over again. Like you want to make every day a new day for falling in love, because it just can be nice.
Yeah.
So let's stop tormenting ourselves in our relationships. And one more time, Vita wishes to thank you for patronizing our products, especially the new member, the 350 block button pack, and thank you for the support throughout the years, and may this year be filled with cheers for you. Vita, a delicious way to grow. And do you know about the new delicious? Oh yes, Ungalicious is the new delicious. Create those amazing moments with your favorite Unga seasoning, no matter your cooking experience. Unga is a delight to make great tasting meals in every home. Unga is convenient to use, and it brings out that great taste and aroma in your meals. So let's toast to the new Unga beef tablet and the Unga stew tablet with superior taste and comforting aroma for all your meals. Mama's Helping Hand, Unga, proudly Ghanaian. You can connect with them on Facebook and Twitter, also Instagram at Onga Ghana. Thank you all very much for doing the listening and for watching. You can go back to it on Facebook so that you can watch it again. We're also on YouTube at Joy997. Watch it again. Pick up the nuggets again and again and again. We love you. Enjoy your weekend. And next week, we will be here with another very educative session on Home Affairs. PG, God bless you. I feel to you as well. And then to you, CK. God bless you all for being here. Bye-bye.
Onga chicken tablets. Onga chicken tablets. Why you hear me do? Why you hear me do? Why me do? Onga chicken tablets. You get this to me. You get this to me. Onga Ediani Seweni, Onga Dielele, Onga chicken tablet.
Introducing the new Onga Chicken Tablet.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
To handle fire caused by LPG, take the following steps. If possible, turn off the regulator on the cylinder to stop the gas from causing more fire. Immediately, call the fire service. Do not try putting out LPG fire with water. Instead,